there's a rush of migrants at the border. We see it, a lot of kids as well. And leaked HHS documents show Border Patrol referring 321 children into HHS custody per day. That's up from 47 daily during the first week of January. Central Americans marching to the border in T-shirts that say, "Biden, please let us in." If this is not already, this is about to be a total disaster, isn't it?
It is. This border crisis was not only predictable, it was predicted. I said throughout the fall that if Joe Biden campaigns on a platform of amnesty and open borders and health care for illegal aliens, you're going to see a surge of migrants at our border. And that's exactly what we've seen. Every month since the election, there have been more migrants showing up at our border. The numbers have doubled and tripled since comparable months in 2020. Now, Joe Biden may not think this is a border crisis, I guess because if they don't believe in borders, they don't think they can have a border crisis. But any common sense American can see that this is in effect open borders, and it has to end, and it has to end now.
But I can't see them. Can you see them flipping on this? Because this is what they kind of believe in. I don't know what they do in this moment. I mean, are they actually going to turn around and start implementing Trump policies? Because I can't imagine they will.
Well, reality has a rude way of intruding on life when you're in the White House and in government. And you saw that in 2014 when Barack Obama pursued similar policies and you had a crisis at our border and they deployed cabinet secretaries to Latin America to discourage people from trying to come to our border and get across the border. That's what Joe Biden is going to have to do. He's going to have to get the word out that there's not an open border, that we're not simply going to wave you through and release you into the middle of the country, let you stay here for 2 years and work, and then decide whether you want to show up for an asylum hearing or not. Right. Reality, again, is a way of intruding, and of all the things that Joe Biden has done in his first 2 months in office, his immigration policies are the least popular. I suspect that's going to lead to a change.
I suspect, I hope, I guess, that you are right. House Democrats delaying this vote on Biden's own immigration proposal next week. They say, though, that Republicans don't have an immigration plan. Is that true?
Well, they're delaying a vote on Joe Biden's radical open borders amnesty plan because they don't have the votes for it. This would be the most sweeping left-wing immigration legislation in our nation's history. But you shouldn't let your guard down. They're going to come back with so-called piecemeal bills or targeted bills. Almost every one of those bills would be a bigger amnesty than was passed in 1986, which is responsible for a lot of the problems we have today.
Interesting. And as far as Republicans having a plan, I mean, they say you guys don't have one. Is that true?
Well, our first plan is to protect our border and to make sure that we have an immigration system that works for working Americans. For too long, our immigration system, both legal and looking the other way on illegal immigration, has flooded our communities with unskilled and low-skilled labor that has taken jobs and driven down wages for working-class Americans. That's why I've introduced legislation called the RAISE Act that would reorient our immigration system towards high-skilled, highly trained education that'll help create jobs in America, but also won't put downward pressure on wages for working-class Americans.
Okay, fair enough. You made some headlines today calling for a full debate over Biden's Attorney General nominee, Merrick Garland, in part because of this concerning answer. Let's take a listen.
Do you believe that illegal entry at America's border should remain a crime?
Well, I haven't thought about that question. I just haven't thought about that question. I think the president has made clear that we are a country of with the borders and with a concern about national security. I don't know of a proposal to decriminalize but still make it unlawful to enter. I just don't know the answer to that question. I haven't thought about it.
So that's from 2 weeks ago. His follow-up on the same question was, as I said at the hearing, I haven't thought about that question. I mean, that's got to be the worst answer I've ever heard for somebody trying to become the AG.
Yeah, it's not just that Judge Garland gave evasive answers at his public testimony. As you say, he had more than a week to answer written questions, and he used phrases like, I don't know, I'm not familiar, I'm not aware, so forth, more than 260 times in those written answers. You would think that if he wants our votes to be Attorney General, he would take the time to provide answers to our questions. And if he can't take the time for us, then I'm not going to give back the time on the Senate floor. We're going to have a full and robust debate, just like the Democrats demanded for Bill Barr. And if it was good enough for Bill Barr, it's good enough for Merrick Garland.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that is a bewildering answer to a very important question for somebody trying to go for that position. It's unbelievable. You had some tough questions earlier today for Colin Kahl. That's Biden's nominee to be Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. We can listen to that.
Last summer, you approvingly quoted a wild-eyed claim that the Republican Party has a death cult fealty to President Trump. Dr. Kahl, this is not about mean tweets or insulting senators. We're all used to harsh criticism up here. This is just a very small sample of the many intemperate and unbalanced remarks that you've directed at people who disagree with you about public policy.
That's a big statement. What's the deal here? You had this Neera Tanden withdrawn. We've had problems with Merrick Garland. Are these picks just too radical?
Yeah, Colin Kahl has a history of unhinged rants on social media and elsewhere against people who have just disagreed with him on public policy questions. It's fine to disagree. Some of these questions are close calls. But to say that the Republican Party is the party of ethnic cleansing or has a death cult fealty to President Trump, to say that we're responsible for the worst humanitarian disaster in the world in Yemen, which is largely inflicted by Iran's proxies funded by the nuclear deal that Colin Kahl helped cheerlead for, it reflects a demeanor and an attitude and a temperament that is not fit to have the number 3 position in the Department of Defense. I mean, I know that Mr. Kahl said he got swept away and that sometimes there are polarizing times. If you get swept away in the middle of the night when he's reading news on his phone at home, what's going to happen when Iran hijacks another American ship or China shoots down a fighter aircraft? This man does not have the temperament or the demeanor to have the number 3 position in the Department of Defense.
Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton